Greetings, gardeners. Welcome to another edition of the Grumpy Gardener's Medicine Show. This is Yacon. Now, I just finished a video recently about growing and harvesting and propagating Yacon, Y-A-C-O-N, also spelled with a J. But in the process of researching a little bit for that video, because I always like to talk about the nutritional qualities of foods that I grow, and I had the darndest time trying to find any nutritional breakdown on Yacon. It was really an odd thing, because it's all over the web, all kinds of information on it. It's not a rare thing on the web, but yet I couldn't find it. Live Strong or nutrition.com or any of these other websites where you usually find stuff like how much vitamin A, how much vitamin C. I couldn't find anything on Yacon. It just didn't exist there. Where it did exist was in all sorts of fairly detailed reports on the medical properties of the plant. And so, historically, I've always grown and consumed it because it was good to eat. It tastes good, it's nice and sweet. It's a good plant as far as that goes. High yielding, relatively easy to grow, blah, blah. But all I really knew about the plant was that because it has inulin as a sugar, it's really a good thing to eat if you're diabetic, because it won't raise your blood sugar. Inulin is really not digestible in the stomach, and so it doesn't really end up in the bloodstream as a sugar. Anyway, so this I knew for a long, long time, but I didn't realize a whole bunch of other things about this plant. Now, just in case you hadn't watched the propagation and harvest video, this right here is Yacon. It looks like a big, ugly sweet potato. Like the Okinawan type, maybe, because it's got a whitish looking skin. I'm sure a lot of Norte Americanos are familiar with the Jerusalem artichoke. And that's a sunflower that produces a rhizome under the soil that has a kind of nice smoky flavor. It's a good tasting root. Easy to grow. Again, it's a Native American vegetable. It was native to the Great Plains. Native American people used it as a foodstuff. Now, Yacon is from the other end of the equator. This comes out of South America from the Andes. It was one of the lost crops of the Incas, so to speak. I don't think they ever got really lost, but that's what they call plants that when the Spanish conquered in South America, they did not bring some foodstuffs out with them. They brought out tomatoes, they brought out chilies, they brought out passion fruits, and various other foods. Particularly, the potato is probably the most notable of all of the foods that were brought out at that time. But things like Yacon, we were left behind. They never really got out of South America until much, much, much later. I never heard of Yacon until the 20th century myself. Of course, I never lived before the 20th century, did I? Yeah, so cultivation of this is relatively new in North America. It's not been going on for too many decades up here. But anyway, it was one of those foodstuffs that were part of the Incas' crops. But as I said, it's an unusual. Why the Incas grew it, I'm not exactly sure. Perhaps they knew the medical properties of this plant too, because you really aren't going to get much energy out of this root. There's a lot of sugar in here. The body can't burn it. In fact, most of the sugar that's in here, at least in my body, ends up not breaking down until it reaches my intestines. And so when it gets to the intestines, then the bacterial culture in my body begins to work on that inulin sugar. And oh my goodness, do I get a reaction from it. They say that it helps to increase defecation and bowel movements. Well, in my case, well, I'll tell you what, it was Joe Hewitt who was the one who suggested that I make Yacon syrup and also had mentioned that it's referred to as Jerusalem fartichokes because of the amount of gas it can produce. It's not uncomfortable, not at all. I mean, no bloating or anything on this order at all. But boy, oh boy, at least I really fart when I eat Yacon. Anywho, in researching for this show, I found out that Yacon is actually an excellent material to be using in a weight loss program. Now, probably more than one reason why that works out, but as a health food, or as a medicine, I guess you could say, Yacon is usually used as a syrup. Okay, and so it can be eaten in salads and stir-fried and just sit there and munch on it. I mean, the stuff's good enough. You can just sit there after peeling it and just eat away like it's a pear. The texture and the flavor actually reminds me a bit of Asian pear with a little bit of earthiness to it. The typical way that it's used, though, is as Yacon syrup. And so a recipe for Yacon syrup is very simple. All you do is peel the root. You don't want the skin on. Then take the root and either use a food processor on it, or you can use a centrifugal juicer. If you have a centrifugal juicer, like a Jack LaLanne power juicer or some such thing, I'd recommend you use that, actually. These roots are 70% water, and so you're going to get mostly juice out of it when you go anyway. But there is about 30% fiber and pulp in here, and if you use the juicer, it will pull the pulp right out. If you use a food processor, then you got to put it through like cheesecloth or some sort of a bag to strain the pulp out before putting it into a pan. Bring the juice in the pan to a boil. Let it go for a few minutes, and then turn it down and let it simmer real long and slow until it's reduced. I've seen recipes that say overnight, but I don't think I'd try that one because I thoroughly believe in watching my pots, and so I'd be doing this perhaps during the day while you're in the house and check on the pot periodically. It will gradually cook down and thicken. And it will end up looking a whole lot like molasses and being very sweet. And so as far as weight loss is concerned, one of the experiments that I read about was with women. And women used between 14 hundredths to 29 hundredths of a gram, or essentially they used a quarter gram of this syrup per kilo of their body weight, and they did it daily, and they used it for 120 days. At the end of the experiment, they found that all the women in the group had a reduction in body mass just using the Yacon syrup. They claim that probably the reasons why they lost weight was partially because Yacon will increase defecation, and so if you're full of it, this will clean you up. But the satisfaction after eating that's gained, let's see, a friend's mother used to refer to it as my general sufficiency has been fully serensified. In other words, if you use Yacon syrup after eating your meal, most likely you'll be satisfied. You're not going to want to eat more food. That's really how it seemed to work for weight loss. I found that was fairly interesting. But apparently this stuff will also reduce cholesterol and triglycerides in the bloodstream. So that's pretty significant. You can use it as a diet aid. You can use it to reduce cholesterol and triglycerides. But the most notable, probably, and really important aspect of this is that it improved digestive health. That it actually can be used for treating various types of colitis, which is not a fun disease, nor is it very easy to treat. And so if you got the type that it'll work on, and I'm not sure which one, you'd have to talk to a doctor probably about that part. But if you have the right colitis, this stuff is going to help you. I suspect it probably has to do with the gut bacteria. That if you have the type, because your gut bacteria is out of balance, most likely this is going to help you. Because very fascinating that eating Yacon, whether it's as the raw root or whether you're taking the syrup daily, it benefits a couple of the beneficial gut bacterias. Now, a little bit more scientific than I want to get into, but for instance, the lactobacillus, which is the one that we like to claim, use yogurt to reculture your body. Well, that's that type of organism. There's a couple of others that it will encourage the growth of the more desirable gut bacteria. But some of the rather negative gut bacteria that can cause problems for us, it actually suppresses them. And so it's really special. It will improve the health of the good ones and push down the bad ones. That's pretty significant. Like I said, I couldn't even find anything to say, well, it's got so much vitamin A, so much, iron, and I am positive that the root must at least have some pretty good mineral content. Being a root, and a sunflower, so it probably has mineral content, but I cannot find the breakdowns anywhere. Chances are there may be some vitamins in there too, but like I say, this is more of a diet food, because you can eat this stuff and you could eat pounds of it, and really the only thing you're going to put on is water weight, because it really just it doesn't metabolize in the stomach into sugar and energy. So, but it sure tastes good, and so this is pretty impressive. So there you have it, folks. The healthful benefits of eating Yacon, the Peruvian sunflower, aka Jerusalem fartichokes, according to my friend Joe. So, y'all have a wonderful New Year's. Today is New Year's Eve here, and it's raining. Looks like it's going to be a drizzly night. I don't know if I'll even be able to see the fireworks from the house tonight. Hopefully it'll clear up a little bit. But aloha, hang loose, eat more Yacon. It's good for you.